Cummins makes a bold statement about developing solutions that are fuel agnostic on the basis that different circumstances require different solutions to achieve the best outcomes. And with the advent of new propulsion systems, their investment is continuous and has been for their 130-year history. This is a theme picked up by Trimble, which emphasises the need to not put all of the eggs in one basket, while also finding innovative ways to drive the efficiency of existing fleets. Volvo underlines its commitment of development resources with a pledge to make 35% of its fleet electric by 2030. How much resource is your company investing in sustainable solutions?
Yeah, I don't have a dollar amount. I think my generic answer would be a lot. We continue to invest more and more in advanced diesel solutions. We full on expect there's going to be more legislative hurdles to overcome in the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years, right, depending on which market you're talking about. So we continue to invest in the diesel product line. On top of that, you've probably seen some of the things in the media around our fuel agnostic strategy. So as we're thinking about how do you move toward more green and again in an affordable way, one of the big challenges that we talk about scalability. And how do you find scale on some of those components when the market is really only ready to adopt in niches in a lot of cases, right? And we think that fuel agnostic is a really good solution, if nothing else, as a bridge product and maybe even a longer term one, being able to take a lot of those base components from a combustion engine that runs on diesel, and you think about the engine, you think about the aftertreatment portion of that system. Really when you go from a diesel to a natural gas or to a hydrogen combustion version of that, really what you're changing is kind of that top end of the engine, right? Cylinder head, maybe some air handling and fuel system parts. But at the same time, you've got a decent amount of scale on a lot of those base components. So while it doesn't make it equivalent to diesel from a cost perspective, it does help quite a bit, right? Because you're sharing some of that scale with what's going to be on the bigger volume for a while, I think still in the diesel. Beyond that, since 2017, maybe even a little earlier, we've been investing a lot of money in acquisitions for different technologies. So we started out, acquired a battery company, I think it was maybe a year or two later, got into a company that we acquired that specializes in electric drivelines. So you've got those two pieces of it. After that, I can't remember exactly the year, invested in hydrogen company for fuel cells, electrolyzers, and I think most recently even have a joint venture with a company called Enprox that does hydrogen storage tanks. So we're really placing those investments for what we think is going to be the long-term future. The good part, I think, is most of this stuff is complementary to each other. So you share components, right? When you think hydrogen engines versus fuel cells, all that tanks and generation of the fuel doesn't really care, right, what you put it in, right? Getting that hydrogen made and to where it needs to be and stored, that's something that can transfer independent if it's an engine or a fuel cell. And I think you could tell a similar story for a lot of those components. So again, it's how do you invest? How do you find something that scales across technologies, across markets? And I think, again, there's a pretty decent paper trail there for what Cummins has been doing in that space.
Dietmar, are Trimble able to match what Cummins are doing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think from our perspective, when you look at Trimble as a whole and you look at our history, we'd almost say that we're fully invested, like our entire company is invested in sustainability. You look at how we were founded, our technologies have always been driving productivity and efficiency gains. What's interesting is in our sectors, often people haven't recognized that as actually being sustainability, right? Because it's been something around, hey, we just want to reduce fuel use. But that is sustainability, right? That is a core part of sustainability.
Can I ask the response when you've tried to get other members of the community to get involved with this conversation? Because you say that you're trying to do that, you want to work together. Is that actually working in practice?
That's a great question. I think so. I've met with several of Jeremy's and Henrik's colleagues, as we go to association meetings. And we're finding out that the sectors are wanting to talk about this, that we're working together more to understand what the solutions are, helping drive policies together to drive a sustainable future. At the end of the day, though, I do think that a big part of it is when it comes to especially carbon emissions as a component of sustainability, we have to just get much better at measuring it and sharing that information together. Once you measure something, then you can manage for it, and we can start to reduce it together. And that's where the shift over the last few years of measurability, sharing that information, looking at these things ultimately in terms of insets or accounting, offsets and other things, that's the way in which you can start to really optimize for reducing the total amount of emissions. And so I think we are starting to work together. Is there a lot more to do? Absolutely. There's a lot more that we can do as a sector together by enabling the process to be more effective in optimizing for reducing emissions.
Henrik, I haven't forgotten you, but I just wanted to ask one more question off the back of this, if that's okay. You talk about sharing information. We must get better at sharing information. That's about trust, isn't it?
Yeah, of course, it's about trust and so on, but it's also to develop things together with customers and partners and so on, I think, at the end of the day here. And I think it's very much what we are doing right now. I mean, to run this transformation that we really would like to be a part of and really driving, so to say, then we need to work together, so to say. And then perhaps also shift, also looking into customers right now, that the customers also wants to run this transformation and is also very eager to get new types of equipment that really support their targets to be CO2 free and so on for the future. So I think it's really from many different aspects we need to do this together.
And Henrik, from Volvo's perspective, how much resource is your company investing in sustainable solutions?
A little bit like Jeremy, I don't want to go into figures, but we are really looking into this right now, actually, and have a lot of focus on this. As I said here before, we have also committed to different targets. I mean, the science-based target is one of those, and we have also said that from Volvo CE side, 35% of our equipment in 2030 should be electric, for example. So I think we have a huge commitment to do what we are talking about.